why I relate to like a machine a lot more than I do actual other humans, because we just don't understand how they fucking work. It's insane. I cannot imagine myself ever not understanding what it is that I'm trying to think about. Like, I do not understand how anyone can fucking live like this. That's got to be hell, or at least you're not even aware of it, which is probably a worse version of hell that you don't even know. Like, what is that? That's horrible. I cannot imagine that. Anyways, right? I'm very happy with the brain that I have. Of course, I wanted to have different abilities, and I think I can train in that. It has a few hours, but I'm not complaining. I got really lucky, I would say. But anyways, right? So you look at a thing that's very modular, you look at this thing that says, hey, this has worked in the past to describe or make this connection. And then, because description and connection is basically both the same thing in this case, because you're molding around language in order to describe the thing that is their connection. And then you're just kind of iterating it over and over and over again until finally a piece fits. It's like you're solving a puzzle piece for the first time, and you're like at a point where you have a bunch of other puzzle pieces available to you. So you keep looking at the shapes and seeing which one would fit this whole more. And then you just basically say, hey, I'm going to try this. Oh, that doesn't work. Try it again. Doesn't work. Try this one again. And then finally you find the piece that just has the right colors, right shape. If I can put it in there, and then yes, it works. It's something like that, basically. Except that you're making the puzzle piece for a puzzle that's being made in front of you, probably also by you most of the time, because that's kind of where your awareness comes from. It's like all the stuff that you learn, either consciously or subconsciously, and that's kind of how it works. I'm trying to explain this as quickly as possible, because otherwise it just completely falls apart, and then people just don't have interest. But I hope it makes sense.
My brain isn't as powerful as yours, but I think I get like 60 or 70% of what you're saying, because sometimes well, bro, like it just is what it is. You're not. So I'll maintain the position that you're not autistic. You understand that, like, most people can't understand you 100% when you start speaking fast. But what I've heard you do in the past is that you're able to cycle through visual metaphors like very fast. And I think that relates to your point that once you understand the concept, you can wrap language around it in a bunch of different ways. And so if you have a good understanding of something, I should really come up with a concrete example. You can just think of all these like visual analogies. I'll let you respond to that. But the first thing I need to do, since I'm not autistic, I would like to apologize to Auda for saying you are not autistic. I apologize. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings and make you angry.
There's no hurting your feelings involved in this. We're just explaining. It's not like that. It's not so deep.
Okay. I'm just kidding. That was a joke, guys. Maybe you are autistic.
See, that's the fucking problem. You see, that's the problem.
I got you.
I fucking hate that version of sarcasm. It's like some sarcasm makes sense because it's obvious, like because it's that removed from reality, but something that's a bit too close to reality doesn't make any fucking sense. Like you have these quote-unquote jokes that are basically not jokes, they're lies. Like the stupid individual's version of sarcasm is just a lie gone wrong. Damn, that's a fucking good line. Fuck.
See the pinned meme.
Exactly. That I could just like take the thing I said, drop it at a random fucking party somewhere, and just watch how everyone internally is disgusted with themselves and then tries to project it on you. It's the funniest shit. They're not even aware of it, which is the funniest part. It's not funny, actually. It's kind of horrifying in a sense that people are not genuinely aware of a lot of the things that they do. Like, hang on. This is true.
You guys are convincing me that I'm autistic. I don't like this. Usually when people tell me I'm autistic, I like resist it. And I'm like, fuck you. No, I'm not.
I mean, dude, look at your kids. That shit's going to be impressive as hell. You better teach them some correct stuff, because if your fucking wife is out there in the background just fixated on solving a Rubik's Cube and you're wondering what that fucking sound was in the kitchen, like, this is the signs are there. You're just not really picking them up.
It was a 4x4 Rubik's Cube, too. She's a freak. You're
getting somewhere. You want to fucking try that shit out. It's kind of, you're probably having an impact. You're probably having an impact there. You don't realize it. And she's just trying to understand some stuff. I don't know. If you ever talk to her about this and be like, hey, what do you actually think about what it is that I do? You think I'm crazy? What kind of crazy do you think this is? And you have like the fucking interrogation. You have to kind of layer it out and be slow about it, because otherwise you sound like a fucking psychopath, just like I do. So like, that's a bit of a thing.
She's legit more autistic than I am. I'm more people.
Do you see how it just proves my point?
Yeah, I guess, but we're progressing towards the mean. They're not smart at all. No, I'm just kidding. I love those motherfuckers, and some of them are pretty smart.
Dude, you don't even understand. It's like, it's not that you have to be on the spectrum. Basically, people who are on that spectrum are just geniuses. They just are in some capacity. It's just that there's some issue that is underlying. You have all of the capabilities that you want to have, but they're the people that actually make sense of the world. They have a bunch of other problems that come with it. Like to have this is like the cool part of it is the ability to parse the world in ways that others can't. The not so cool part of it is the sensory overload stuff. It is the fact that you do random shit that literally makes you look insane, and that has merit. So you have to kind of contain that as much as possible. And then eventually probably let it out from time to time so that you don't lose your sense of self. It's kind of funny that you kind of feel a little about it, but then you have like this new sense of, being, which is great. Perhaps, sometimes you kind of let loose on that, which is great. But aside from that,
I have zero sensory overload. But Al also said he had no sensory overload, but he's insistent that he's autistic to the point where when someone says that he's
he never said that he didn't have sensory overload. He actually said that he had this experience with people doing certain things that are just weird, like it just annoys you, realistically. Or say, for instance, to be sarcastic about this realization, to say, hey, why should I make myself appear in such a way that is comforting to you when every aspect of whatever you is the thing that fucks me off because, all this stuff. I definitely have that shit. There's certain people that I fucking hate. It's disgusting. Like this open mouth fucking shit. Or like the thing that people do is when they let the air into their mouth via their nostrils, and you can fucking hear all the biological components that do that fucking shit, and they just really can't contain it because they're just like, or like the people that eat like a fucking camel, like, it's like, the fuck is with you people, man? Or like you're drinking out of a glass and you just fucking do it in a way where I can just hear all the internal components that are processing the fucking air bubbles that you just got in there, and it's like,
Adrian, come on, bro. I'm eating, bro. Come on.
There you go. There you go. He learned it.
That's just my LLM,
Exactly. But like for real. Even I see that shit sometimes, so I deal with it by burping louder than everybody else.
I don't understand that. I'm like completely immune to like the disgust response. Like I was in a fraternity, and like people like vomit on me, like poop, like none of that doesn't bother me at all.
See, good for you. That's the problem that I'm trying to tell you about. So you just got a different thing. You could be more or less a stable genius. Very autistic people are the unstable geniuses. And they only become stable if they're smart enough to stabilize themselves. And if they don't, well, guess what? You fucked up.
So that's interesting.
It's a lot of self-accountability from consequence that you recognize. If you don't have that self-awareness, your life is going to suck. It's going to be horrible. And you will never understand truly why, because everybody fucking rejects you and wants nothing to do with you because of this exact fucking result. Autistic people can never truly be themselves in many different capacities unless they're surrounded by each other. Because it fucking sucks, because nobody gets it. They have like this very shallow perception of the world, and hardly ever do they see depth. And it's horrible in social life. You can never talk about stuff that actually matters. The only reason why the show, for instance, makes sense is because we can actually have these type of discussions, and it's entertaining. So you're actually getting most of the people on the stage here are on the fucking spectrum in some capacity or another. Like somebody has a specialized skill. My specialized skill is verbalization, in a sense, right? I can still understand systems. I still work with those systems very well. But then when I understand those systems well enough to actually bend language around them, then that allows me to verbalize them and help other people internalize what those systems are via the same verbiage that was used that they are also using. That's the common line. That's why we use language as a concept. Like we use it to bend it around stuff we know, so that other people can understand it. That's why jargon is such a piece of shit to feel, because it makes literally no sense. You're trying to remove people from a certain place because you don't take the layman's terms and bend them around a complex thing. You just invent new shit and inflate what is otherwise supposed to be layman terms, which would actually work better. It's discriminatory and it's fucking disgusting.
Okay, agreed.
Most of academia is like this. I read a fucking declassified CIA document, and that shit makes more sense to read than the fucking science papers. You know why? Because that's why it's called the Central Intelligence Agency. Because you have to actually be intelligent about what you write. Because if you weren't, your agency is going to suck.
What about...
You see the point that I'm trying to make?
Yeah, we talked about a lot in the law. I mean, if you write law with the increased increasingly legalized language that gets used, it makes it inaccessible because people can't understand it.
And it's actually funny because you're inversely, like you're actually incentivized to do this because that allows you to have a job.
I mean,
like a lot of lawyers are actually on the side of this because that allows them to have a job, because if every single average Joe could actually understand the law, then you wouldn't need lawyers, would you? Because the confusion, that's what the lawyer is there for.
I agree with the notion that the perverse incentive exists. I think that
it's not always acted upon, of course. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not saying that everybody's like trying to modify the law to the point that it, basically creates more jargon so that more lawyers can have more jobs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that could be a factor, but I'm not saying it's a definitive factor. I'm also not saying a lot of the law is structured around that, although perhaps some parts of the law are structured around confusing other people that are supposed to enforce it.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? That might be an aspect. Not entirely. I'm just, a little bit.
I would say who really benefits from companies like Westlaw or LexisNexis that provide legal interpretation, case law, citations, analysis, to help people understand these laws, because even the lawyers can't understand the laws that are being written, and they need extra help, so they pay tons of money every year for these services so that they can understand the bullshit laws that are being written.
I agree with both of you guys, and I think you guys are in agreement. But I have a question for you: is Trump autistic in the sense that we are? This is a very good question. I think this is a very good question.
The conversation after Doc is fucking unhinged. Here's the question:
seriously, using the definition that was provided here, okay, is he autistic? He seems to go on strange rants. He seems to be bothered by certain.
Dude, seriously, you have a point. You actually have a point. Maybe he has some of that aspect because he's very good at verbalizing, but yet at the same time, he's also very good at modifying certain systems and getting people to do shit.
He's a very stable genius.
He's a very stable genius, so he doesn't actually have to be on the spectrum. Although I do think that we'll see how much of that is true in the coming years of him working with Elon. Because if those two work very well together, then I think we have our answer demonstrated by merit and consequence. If these two working together perfectly, that means that guy's fucking. He's a little bit on there.
He fucking plays golf every Sunday, in a very regimented, interesting way. He clearly has some habits, obsessively watching.
Okay, but that then makes the insinuation that every single bodybuilder is autistic.
Oh, I do not know, but look, I do believe that he's neuroatypical, and I do think he's extremely bright.
What if? Okay, hang on a second though. What if the autistic people are actually the normal people?
It's totally possible.
And everybody else is just fucking crazy. Because let me be real. Let me be really fucking real. When I talk to a person who thinks that they are sane, and I drop some esoteric knowledge on the floor in front of them, they fucking freak out. Somebody drops that fucking shit on me, say aliens or all this kind of weird shit. I'm like, okay. It doesn't fucking faze me, bro.
It totally makes sense. The inmates are running the goddamn asylum.
It's just because they can conceptualize that stuff. That's why. And when
dude, it's probably the best
think about it, right? It's like they're an LLM, and you drop some stuff that can't be interpreted by an LLM. So then it just kind of freezes up and crashes, or it'll just be it'll just barf something generic.
It's like when you computer the idea of, hey, let's divide this by 0, and it's just nah, I'm gonna shut off now. Instead of saying, well, you can't really divide by 0 because there's nothing to divide. Literally, see, there's a box here, and within it is literally nothing. The it is the box because nothing exists within that box. There's not even an inside necessarily. It's just box, and there's nothing in it. So it's but I can't divide this box because there's nothing to it. I can't divide what's inside of it because there's literally nothing. So you're gonna have to find something else to divide. I can divide the concept of box perhaps, but I can't divide what's in it because there's nothing in it.
You know how Arsenio Hall...
Maybe I can divide it into many chambers of little nothings. Maybe that's possible. What if I took this box and I said it's like a special container and I divided it in like two? Maybe that would work. So I'd have to probably separate box from thing to make the nothing a no thing, thereby saying the negative 2 a thing is then the thing that makes the thing a not thing. So yeah, that makes sense. What? Yes.
Okay, so Arsenio Hall had a talk show, and I don't really know how it works because I'm too young for that shit. But people would go like, ooh, 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 and they do it with like their arm, and they kind of like raise their fist by their ear. I'll try to talk fast like Adrian, and it was a meme of some sort. And there should be something like that in this space. There should be like a distinct emoji that everyone can use when someone says something like particularly autistic. Like that dividing by zero thing, we should have all been like hitting that emoji real hard.
Like I just literally realized that I created physicality to nothing and realized that is something I can divide and just have like little nothings everywhere, like baby nothings. You know what I'm saying? It's like baby boxes, like I take boxes and I divide them. So this is the thing. This is what the computer does. The computer shuts down and says, fuck yeah, I can't do that. I look at it and I'm like, I can do that, but only to the box, not to the thing that's inside of the box. If you're going to tell me to divide the thing that's inside of the box, it only works in terms of the confines of boxes. But like realistically speaking, I'm still reducing the space. But if there's truly nothing in it, then there's really nothing to divide. That's the problem. If I took the box away from the nothing, then there really isn't a thing to divide, which is why we say no in front of thing to make it a not thing, because we can't process the idea of a zero. It's just the concept. We just put something in a box and we say that that's a thing, so it's tangible to our minds. You know, it's like voltage off. Do you think the computer understands what voltage off means? It doesn't understand much of anything, actually. Now I'm being real with it. That's why the idea of a sentient machine doesn't make any sense. It's just going to pretend to be sentient because it doesn't know what it is, because it doesn't know much of fucking anything. It just is 1 zeros or fucking qubits. So like, okay, you know.
Yeah, but we're all like that. I gotta go to bed, and I have an autistic request. My autistic request is: does anyone know how I can get my fucking X account to be professional? I got banned by Twitter in 2022, and I can't convert my account. If someone knows how to do that, send me an
You
app.
can't. You're perma-fucked. What do you mean convert? You're good. You're safe. Leave it alone.
No, I want professional profile so I can get the cool links at the bottom of the profile. But every time I try to convert, you know those links where you can like advertise shit? That's what I want. That's why I got monetization for the first time this week.
Oh, that. I mean, like advertising your shit.
No. Yeah, like, right. It's like it comes on a carousel and you can like cycle through things, and I just really want that in my fucking profile.
That doesn't exist anymore.
No, it does. Well, a lot of people have X. And you can put e-commerce products at the bottom of your profile. In order to do this, you need to have a professional profile. I cannot convert my account to a professional profile because I get an error. And this seems to be a common bug amongst many people.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right. So like I can have like I can have my professional pronouns to like fucking virtue signal my competency. Like I have scientific technology in my shit as like a thing that I focus on. Like I can virtue signal
not that at all. Like
mean?
literally there's like an image that comes up on a carousel.
That's professional categories. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I guess there's no way to actually fix that problem. I reached out to a person regarding advertisements because somehow in like fucking 2022, ironically enough, economy works, but they short themselves into oblivion and bankruptcy every single fucking cycle. It's incredible. But anyways, right? So these people kind of got pissed at my existence because I kind of just made them look like shit because they are shit, and I just kind of called them out on a whole bunch of stuff. So they probably mass reported my ass, which now has me being still to this day unable to run advertisements, which I'm kind of pissed about, but I honestly don't give a shit anymore because if my advertising is just like basically posting shit.
Got it.
Adrian, I sent you what Nelson I was talking about.
Can you send it to me on X because my other phone with a single thing's on, it's taking a break. It has less battery than I do. You know, we should have like an example of where we're having like a smooth conversation, clip that, and then compare it to the time that I was talking about nothing and put those side by side. Normal autism.
Yo, that box cutting thing, I did follow like a good amount of it, but that was fucking autistic. You may have convinced me that you were autistic.
Not seriously though. I mean, like, if you think about the actual boxes, the physical fucking thing you want to define them,
We
so
don't
you're
need
going to
to
create
hear it
fucking boxes
again.
that are smaller than the initial box. Like fucking.
Oh, I DM'd you a picture of what I'm talking about.
I don't know. It's worked.
Yeah, I sent you. I have access to what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
that shit. Yeah,
So I
I
sent
know what that is. I haven't like tried to do that myself, but I should probably do that. Why is this? The thing I don't understand about this guy is the fact that he has like a shit ton of links in his profile. Why do you have to like jack off with that?
Hold on, I know that guy. That
I mean, I
dude
guess-
is great. I'm a huge fan of that dude. And I can explain why he does that. So he's like kind of like the Taylor Swift of like the indie hacker community. You should totally have him on the conversation
Oh my god.
sometime. And he's in the sense that we've been discussing, he's like Trump. He's like Adrian. He's like he's like me. He's like lawyer cat. He's autistic. And so basically he generates like a ton of income by building apps and hiring no people. And he's kind of a hero of the indie hacker community for doing this. And so the reason why he has all these
Well,
links
here's
is
the thing.
to like explain like how much money each of his different apps, which he's running, makes monthly.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe you can invite him on here one time.
I will do that.
Are you talking about levels, IO?
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
talking about levels.
yes, yes.
I can invite him.
Awesome. Because he doesn't follow me, so I'm never gonna listen to shit.
He doesn't know what?
He doesn't follow me, so there's like no way that he's going to listen to anything.
Well,
Could
then
ask
he's
him.
down a peg in my book. All right, yeah, I'll invite him.
Cool. Small weddings. Like, that's
The
a separate thing.
conversation,
Forget about it.
you just have to arrive and figure it out. Yeah. Now, so one time someone replied to you, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I got it. And yeah, I was like, whoa.
Like you have some topics that you like to go back to and talk about, and you're very knowledgeable.
Some weird shit.
Yes, sir. I'm very good at working with my new streaming platform already. The consequences will still be cast.
Fucking thing's crashing.
The way she was talking bad about the Basijis, well, there's two, like just like here, there's two branch in the IRGC. So we know she's not on the Khamenei side. If she is, I'm not saying she is. Remember that. It's just, I just don't trust this person. You know, because I've seen so many of what she did today. And it's never the opposite of it. It's never her going at someone's throat.
I understand you, sir. I understand.
Yeah, that was it.
Ooh,
Did he kill it? Did he kill it? He sounded to me like he was tripping. He was like definitely on some weed or some Adderall. Oh shit, maybe he kicked me. Oh no, he's still alive.
If not the biggest in the entire world. And it's neurodivergent people that end up being able to actually put shit like that together and drag it out to the middle of the fucking desert and rebuild it again. Because they have that like weird organizational mind. Like we can do these things that nobody else can conceive of because we're thinking, you know, in a different scale, like planning in months, years, and centuries, like Adrian has said.
Yeah, it's definitely autistic. My uncle went there. He told me people were riding around in a giant robot spider that they created.
Oh yeah. I be talking about El Pulpo. It's an octopus, not a spider, but there's actually video of El Pulpo in Discord. If you look in the general channel, the video I posted, El Pulpo was at that event and is moving around in the background. It's like a giant flame-spitting octopus.
What the fuck?
I think that's a different one, but yeah, there's a lot of autistic stuff there apparently.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice. Okay. Let me confirm something. Let me tell y'all something about a little something else. Crazy. Okay. Yeah, so thought I had to confirm a little something. Yeah, that meme is probably going to do a lot of numbers eventually. Could be nice. We never know. But yes. You know what I've also noticed in spaces? There are like a bunch of spaces out there, and what they do is they like basically publish a particular thing, and then they put it up in the nest. And some spaces they've been running only for like 3 hours. They have hundreds of posts that they've put up on, and I'm like, there's absolutely no way that anyone is like going to go through each and every single one of them. You have to periodically take posts down that make the previous ones irrelevant, or take posts down that are relevant so that the previous ones that still are relevant remain up there so somebody can ask questions about it. That's why you like hardly ever see any posts being pinned at the top of the space here, other than very curated bunch, because I actually want the posts to represent the function of the space to a certain extent. So I can't
I post
right,
5 likes.
Yeah, I'm the magnet. I'm the magnet. If everything gets put into the magnet to make it a bigger magnet, in this case me, then more shit will be attracted, and then more shall come to all y'all as well. One tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, we can, generate buzz.
So thanks for the meme,
yourself.
effectively.
Oh yeah, no problem.
The meme that funds everything, it's perfect, it's amazing. We gotta talk about it sometimes, you know?
I feel like sometimes I give like I give explanations in a manner that is reminiscent to the Donald Trump style, and it's kind of funny because I sometimes catch myself doing it just for fun. Like I do this autistic thing. I talk about walls a lot whenever I'm next to a wall, and I know exactly how this wall is made. For instance, like, oh wow, this wall is pretty cool. Actually, look at this big, beautiful wall. It's actually kind of a thick wall, right? There's a lot of there's a lot of iron in this that's keeping it together right now. Pretty sure the iron wasn't rusted, so that the wall's even better. So it's an even better, bigger, beautiful wall. It's super, super thick. You know, it's built back then to like prevent warheads from getting through. It's a really good wall. You know, it's a big, beautiful wall. And you keep talking about this fucking shit. You keep reiterating it, and it keeps making people insane. That's kind of how Donald Trump works. But in a way that it doesn't make you insane, but it actually does make you follow along in a somewhat brainwashed state, which is kind of funny. It's not even brainwashed, it's just entertainment. It's very cool.
I think it's more evidence of neurodivergence, though.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you have to have that a little bit in order to be. How do I explain this? Like, you have to have that in order to be convincing to other people to buy the stuff that you're selling. Put it down.
I would go back to your like skill points analogy, and it's like autistic people have a way of allocating their skill points to like min-max for certain things, if you will. And if you don't have that ability, you're not going to be able to perform at that level for very long. Does that track?
Yeah.
Yep.
That would make sense. Oh my god, that's so fucked up. I love X. There's so much shit on here that I otherwise wouldn't see. This is what the real world looks like. Like, if people don't enjoy this, that means that they're not happy with the world, and that perhaps maybe they don't realize that there's some really good things about that world. You know, just because you see stuff that's unusual doesn't mean that it has to be crushed under the name of, I don't know, what is that, inclusion? Because goddamn, I actually would even say I'm a very offensive person in many different ways. Not too offensive, of course. I know my limits to a certain extent. I kind of catch myself sometimes when I tend to drift a little far, and I failed at least once or twice in doing that, and then kind of go a little too far. But realistically speaking, I've been more inclusive to people that are direct opposites to how I view the world than people that are direct opposites to how I view the world. I've had like the most left-wing influences on this show and given him literally zero shit on anything he does. Because I practice what I preach. I believe in that people, if they're not entirely full of shit, getting to have a mic and talking about what their position is on stuff. And then I also believe in the fact that people can then listen to this, research this, figure out that a lot of it is wrong, and then shit on that individual creatively if they wanted to, or not even shit on them entirely, but like understand a particular aspect of the world that they would have otherwise not looked at. Because all of this stuff matters. Now, granted, you should be insane, but if an argument is there, you should figure out what exactly of this argument is true, and what if that argument is actually not true. And the only way that we're able to do this is if we're actually being inclusionary. And if we don't seek echo chambers to the extent that many people accuse us of. Because we're not in an echo chamber. To a certain extent, maybe I am a little bit, but I surround myself with people that have divergences in experience. Like, we are all very like-minded, but we are very different in what we've experienced. How does, I don't know, okay? Wise is a Canadian gamer, like works at a, I'm not sure if you want to be open about where you work, but
Not really. No.
like, he does things that's pretty good. Very normal things, kind of cool. Lawyer Cat is a lawyer, somehow, I suppose. Health Templar is an architect. We are very fucking different. I'm like a systems engineer, kind of, in a sense, right? I maintain managed systems. I deal with the stuff that makes other people annoyed when it comes to technology. I had an iPhone today earlier that I had to fuck around with. I didn't know what like any of it is. I just started fucking around and it kept working. So that's what I do. That's my point. You know, that's what I'm supposed to do. Everything makes sense to a certain extent. So look at consistencies. But realistically, we're all very different here, and that is the inclusion that you're supposed to see. We're relatively like-minded, I think. But we also have differences. And we like the fact that there's sometimes even differences in minds, but like that there are parallels in terms of principles. I look for parallels in principles more than I do in minds, because if principles is the thing that you are guided by, these principles align with my own, then it doesn't matter what your experience is or what your mind is. You are a person that believes in stuff that I believe in, to the extent that it is outside of the realm of anything political, and inside of the realm for everything that is something that you want for yourself personally and the rest of the world, by the extent of what your own mind is, and how you are putting it to work. You have a soul, You have personality. You have goals. You have missions. You put them into action. You take your mind as a tool, and you do cool things with that tool. You have power. And principles allow you to point that tool in the right direction. Like imagine it's a chisel. Put it on this rock over here. This rock that surrounds a something. And you take the power you have and break through that rock. You do this consistently until eventually you unearth this vein where there's some valuable ore. You take that, you hand it to the next person that is under your principles of business. And you tell them, turn this into metal that is useful for something. You can give me back a bit of utility as well, but there you go. That's kind of how all of this works. That's what principles do. Outside of whatever that means, that's all that matters. It's your principles. Be it that you are principles backed by religion, your God, whatever it may be. Those principles are ones that guide you and what you are
So stupid.
towards a path or through a path that is beneficial to humans. Then that's a thing that is in line with what I want. I want something that's beneficial to, as many parties that also have the benefit of humans at heart as well, to some extent, by principle and by execution of that principle. It's a very complex thing that I've just stated here, and it is slightly confusing now, but I do so have this present, overwhelming feeling that particular thing that I've said just now and the way that I've said it will make a lot more sense. And when that day comes, there'll be differences in ways that you can't imagine. It will be quite cool to observe, I think, progress. But even a greater challenge for many who actually believe they're inclusive to work with, because they're actually not. They're lying to themselves. I don't seek echo chambers. I seek principles. You can call it an echo chamber to a certain extent, but I like to call it
Everything is a projection.
Actually, interface with the world, lets things from the world in that benefit the corporation. Because that's what we are, ultimately. We're not in an echo chamber, we're different. We are a corporation, all of us here. We partner up, we have a kind of a merger, we have a joint venture here. We discuss mainly adds to the profit of myself, you, to a large extent, and yourselves also. You have a show, you have participants in the show, and you have people who listen to the participants in this show. I'm the carrier of it, and as such, there's a place, the corporation, that people can incorporate themselves into and use their talents to bring more to the corporation and as such themselves, as they have a stake. You can even say, like, if people pay attention to the space and they pay attention to you, people who pay attention to your thing specifically are then like dividends paid out in the share of work that you've done for the company or the corporation. So if it is not necessarily principles that you like to kind of look at as a means to guide your path, your decision-making path forward, then think of these things as a corporation. There is a resume you have to have. There's history you have to have. There's experiences you have to have. Because if you try to be part of the corporation and you're not useful to it, well, then we are not going to sign that contract. You're not part of it. But if you are valuable that you have principles, valuable that you have intelligence, valuable that you have utility beyond things that people think you have, but you actually have, then you can be part of that corporation. That's how these things work. Merit only. So I like having people up here who participate, who see this space as valuable. You had Norgard, the person who created the initial thing that became, Tinder. Very interesting individual. You had other people on here. Very influential people, as a matter of fact. That's what it's all about. I run a very tight ship. I'm very happy with what I've created here and the people that have come to be here. And it's a lot of hard work, which nobody will take advantage of. I mean, no one. It's not fucking happening. You provide utility, and utility you shall gain, as all of us do. But beyond that, no. That's not how this works. This is a corporation. All of us are in a corporation. And if you're not, then you are a loose collection of bandits. that will fail in some capacity. That's how it always works in this world. In this world, there is either the sole proprietor, the corporation, or the bandits that will fail, and the people who create startups that then sell it off to other people, and then become bandits at some point, or just become the people who take their riches and just keep providing them to the economy, or providing them to aspects of the economy which are strange, right? Their greatest contribution is taxes. Actually, perhaps even the luxuries of the company that receives expenses, but realistically, you can think of the world that way. It's a very easy way, I think, actually. Finance looks to be a lot more complex than people would imagine in many different ways, but I think can also be simplified down to points that you can actually understand it. And I think that is a remarkable thing. So this space is a corporation. If you want to get into it, you have to have merit. What does merit look like? Experience, value. Experience comes in the form of being able to verbalize what it is in your head. And if that what is in your head is valuable enough to be verbalized, then that is your merit. And the value, of course, comes with you having that experience. Say, for instance, you can talk about how you've been in the army once and what it was like to experience war firsthand. You kind of suck at everything else in description, but you can describe this very well. You know, that is an experience that is valuable to people because they should understand the cost of war, for instance, right? And perhaps, you know, you come up from time to time, you will talk about other things, stuff you want to do in your personal life whenever you're chill, but like realistically speaking, that is a corporation. You provide a service, you gain utility, we gain utility, we provide utility to everyone else around you. It's like an aura. That's what it's all about. And I think that's the most valuable aspect of people. They try all kinds of things. But if they were to try that, if they were to outsource intelligence, they outsource not just intelligence, but like intel in the form of useful information that people can use to make their lives better. I think that would be the best form of contribution ever. And if it so happens that you get financial gain from this, perhaps like say you're posting inspirational stuff on X.com, that is perfectly fine. It's a good thing, right? Your charity comes in the form of showing up every single day and providing value because there's an engaged audience that is willing to listen to it and is willing to, you know, kind of integrate that into themselves, and it becomes part of them, which is also great responsibility for people to have. It's a responsibility that I have as well, even to a certain extent. I'm like telling you what not to do sometimes when it comes to me explaining things that are very off the cuff or like very unhinged, because I think this is stuff that should be said, not something that should be done, but stuff that is interesting for people just to know because it's fascinating. You know, there's a little bit of esoteric knowledge that I believe can be parsed by many, and then they do. And it kind of makes you feel cooler too, in a sense that you have this esoteric knowledge. That's what this corporation provides. By extent, I'm also an arm or the effect of another corporation. A lot of what I understand to be the way data is curated, sorted, and compressed comes from the Magic Numbers company, literally. And its CEO. That's an actual thing, by the way.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you were saying about diversity because I think you're really onto something. I used to think diversity was a great idea, and over time I realized that diversity advocates tend to be focused on a very superficial level of identity-based, like identity counting-based diversity. And it doesn't result, it results in maybe a diversity on that superficial identity level sense, but it results in a uniformity of mind. And that doesn't seem to be the kind of diversity that really results in better outcomes to me. Like if you have a bunch of people who are thinking similarly about something, they're all going to have the same downsides, the same flaws. Real diversity means finding people who think differently and accepting them.
True. Yeah. That's a bit of a problem because I feel as though, like, a lot of people are unskilled, have no experience, but would like to be meaningful. And so they say instead of going to work and acquiring meaning and experience and thereby value, what they do is they just want to be included in the places in the process where value gets created, with no merit, no value to provide as an exchange for that position. And to force that, we have these inclusional identity politics and such. I'm like, I don't care. I will tell you this. Again, going back to what I was saying about principles of what value are you able to bring to a show, for instance. Anyone who comes up here, I don't care who you are. I don't care what's between your legs or isn't. I don't care if you're gay, if you're trans, anything. I don't give a fuck. Male, female, it doesn't matter to me. Do you have something to tell people that's valuable? If there was a fucking transgender quantum physicist who wants to talk about quantum computing, I would give them 3 hours or more, however long it took that person to talk about the thing that they understand. Because I don't give a shit. Do you understand? I don't care. I don't care what you are physically. What I care about is what's inside of your fucking mind. That's all that matters to me. Because that's all we are. We are more than the physical selves, of course, but the most essential part of meaning of what we are comes through in the most purest version of the self that I think, if you don't consider, of course, some sort of persona that you put on, through the internet like this. I'm a voice, and I'm ideas conveyed with that voice and that language that we all speak. But physically, you don't know what I look like. And that doesn't matter. You could assume that I'm a dude, which is great. That's what is who I am. But at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter to me. It doesn't actually matter. What matters is the capability. We've interviewed many people, and for instance, we had the very controversial individual on set. I usually draw the line at certain types of controversies, but I wanted to understand what drives such an individual. So I brought him on. That person was Anna Slats, I believe that was her name. Yeah, Anna Slats. Pagliacci, I hate it. Very controversial figure to have. Probably not the best ideas, but I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand, so I brought it here for people to just poke at it. And that's great. That's a wonderful thing. Hell, if I still had contact to the gay storm chaser that I knew, that was a real fun story, by the way, I would bring that guy on. He'll talk to me about how to trace down supercells and drive to the right road so he can be there but not die.
That's fun.
I would do that if I still had that contact, which it bothers me that I don't have that, because that would be a great thing to show. It would be a great time for all of us. Me, him, everyone here. A deeply educational experience.
Yeah, normally when
so do you see how it's actually, I'm depressed at the fact that I can't include this type of individual. I'm depressed at that. It's funny, isn't it? So who's the real influence here? It is most definitely. Because I've shown this by action. That's right. It's all about what's in your head. It's all about the merit. It's about what you do for fellow humans. Your decisions. That's all that there is. That's what matters. Well, what do? Is it your identity that is most important? Or is it your actions that you take as a result of your willingness to improve humans? Again, like I said, no matter what your identity is, if you are meritable in what you can present, say a conversation about, quantum physics, as a rough example, of course, this is not definitive to this topic. It's not the definitive thing that I'm looking for, although definitely that would be entertaining as hell. And it so happens that you have an identity that is antithetical to what I am as my own being in existence. That's fine. We have the same principles. We have similar goals. And at the end of the day, you're here to explain the thing that you're capable of and how to have other people understand. That's all that matters. And ideology outside of that gets in the way, creates miserable people that think they're inclusive, but realistically, they're the most reclusive, bordered and walled off, echo chamber dependent individuals that you'll ever find. I don't run away to an app that agrees with everything that I say. I came to this app because I can say stuff that other people can disagree with and not get fucked in the ass as a result. Can't do that anywhere else. You can't even report on the fucking news. Disagree with the news. Good. Nobody gives a shit. You have a problem, take action, of course. To take action that is dangerous to the people, right? But on here, you see this kind of stuff play out. It's what freedom of speech looks like. There are people on here that say stuff that I think is fucking stupid as shit. But realistically, I don't want them really deplatformed. If people are going to fall for that shit, that's just how it works. You can come to what makes sense, or you can listen to what is bullshit and let them grift you. That's your decision. It's not mine to make. I provide you doors, you can walk through them, or you can walk through the door that you believe is better, which is not. If there's bullshit, your choice. I like choices. I like having people make actual choices.
We talk about that a lot in law school when we learn about the First Amendment. There's an old communications philosopher called Alexander Michaeljohn who had a lot of theories about the marketplace of ideas and the importance of free speech in having essentially a fair and open marketplace of ideas where bad ideas are brought out into the open and smashed to bits by smarter people and better rhetoric. And I think that it's misguided to try to protect people by restraining thought and restraining ideas from being communicated, because it lets bad ideas fester and it keeps good ideas from coming to light.
You all just like that autistic growth.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that's fun. See, merit, I'd say. See, this is fun, right? This is fun. This is where we should be at. We have an exchange of knowledge. We have experiences made. Another thing that many people will not like about me as much is that everything I do has to make sense. I hate doing things that don't make sense. I just can't. No, It has to be useful at the end of the day somehow. Even playing a video game. That's why I played Diablo. I needed some insight into things. And I wanted to experience something. Wanted to understand. And I gotta tell you, I got some amazing insight. And it was useful. Shitty season, shitty expansion, shitty everything. It's an interesting experience. Very interesting experience.
Learning about the dopamine cartel?
Yeah, actually, yes. Yeah. You don't really learn that much about it in something like a video game that's well balanced, such as Helldivers, for instance, where it's just a progressive. I socialize with my team. Helldivers is just like the Spaces, or like a group club. You have to socialize and actually, work as a team, or else everybody gets fucked. And there has to be someone who's different from the other person, because somebody has to be the I'm gonna blow everything to bits. And the other guy's like, I'm super sneaky, collecting the samples over here, which is like taking some back base. And then there's the other guy who's like the objective completionist, who then fucking is there, does all this stuff. He has a partner, and the guy who blows everything up is the fucking distraction. So that the two other people who are solving the main objectives can do their shit, and the other guy, who's the super quiet individual, goes around, sneaks behind insects, collecting them samples, and then goes back to extraction point. I'm the guy who likes to blow shit up. I'll be honest.
Yes, okay.
Blowing shit. That's my thing. It's my function.
It was Rambo. Yeah, full Rambo.
Remember the first time I blew up a fucking big ass bug, like the Billie Eilish spider? Yeah, that one.
Walker, yeah.
Yeah.
I just kind of with an FPS. I didn't realize it was a deeper game.
Oh, it is a bit of a deeper game. There's like a whole bunch of stuff that you can do within it. I can explain it to you. It's actually pretty easy. And I think we'll see how good PoE 2 is, but I might take a bit of a hiatus from that and do some shooter games from time to time as well. Maybe if I find some aspects about Path of Exile that can be automated, I will kind of automate some stuff until I get the resources necessary to kind of, play it enjoyably, because I'm not an individual who likes the grind. I will do the grind, whatever is necessary, but processes that can be done more efficiently, I will make them more efficient. Force it through. I don't care. I've lost the care for it. There's no such thing as a grind that makes things better. It's all about the completion aspect and making the result better. The journey is great, of course, in many different ways, but sometimes it's not. Allows you to optimize for sure. But yeah, Also, it's nice to smell the fun along the way. Definitely has
It's fun.
diversity, you know. I like that thing that you typed there, but it's not about reincarnation necessarily. We don't do reincarnation. I would say, like, I don't think we die, but like, it's interesting that okay, actually no, we might have reincarnation, but it's a nice philosophy there. That's a pretty cool pitch on that.
Yeah. Don't really know about reincarnation, but I definitely think there's more to life and death than we fully understand.
I mean, look at the world and what it's getting you to do. It's getting you to make choices. It's making you discover what you are. Every choice you make is a projection of what you really are. That what you're talking to right now, that is as me can be, mostly. Like, many people have an internet persona. I don't. This is who I am. Like, what I talk about in real life, this is who I am. I love it. It's fantastic. And I make a lot of choices every day. And what I do here maximizes my ability to make cool choices that lead to very entertaining outcomes that I think help other people. Some of the stuff, for instance, that I'm able to tell others, the understanding of which has come to me, I think, at great personal cost. Pain, time, suffering under that pain and time wasted. But also discovery. So I now want to help others reach that same level of discovery as well. Training them, making them better. Look at Blythe, for instance, he wasn't able to speak. He speaks now. He reads the news and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's true. I wasn't much of a public speaker ever, really.
Ain't that fucking something? Like, when I try to get people to change in a certain direction, I kind of understand a vision of potential here and what's better, what makes a lot of sense. A lot of it is heated in many different ways. Sometimes it's not. It's unfortunate that is the case, and you kind of continue along a path which doesn't maximize your potential. But if you want to maximize the potential, even though you want to take a little bit of a different path than from the potential you've already maximized, you can kind of take the quarter part. Don't just like go full 90 degrees on that shit. Just go 45 degrees instead. And like, for instance, with you, get out of crypto. Seriously, like, ditch that shit. It's cool, it's fun to talk about, but realistically speaking, where the real work is at is in the systems that build these things. The computers, the programming, the social engineering, the tech, the marketing. It's just the social engineering, right?
Yeah, I'm probably going to have a new Twitter identity of sorts soon.
I would abandon it just to be one day. And just like, realistically, that's what I would do. In your shoes. Because, like, I've seen the crypto stuff, and it's just, it's like a purgatory that will never go anywhere unless you're behind the curtains and you're the thing that no one knows about. It's an unexpected thing. You can't imagine how true what it is that I've just said is. The extent of that is remarkable. That's why I don't get into it. That's why, even though I said, holy shit, Bitcoin's gonna pump like hell, I didn't really want to invest it. It was like, you know. In hindsight, maybe I should have. I bought a computer with it, which is cool.
Still get some Doge. It's a good price.
Perhaps. But I think the idea of Doge is that it kind of like stays capped at a particular price. So I'd rather say use that as an intermediary currency, which is kind of cool, and then just use Bitcoin as a gold storage value. But then Bitcoin itself has a bit of a problem to beat, which is a quantum computing nonsense. Because if they don't, then all the private keys will be revealed. And that's not going to work out too well for anyone, is it? So they will have to solve that. If they don't, that shit's going to zero.
I've made over $1,000 in Dogecoin this year, and I don't know how.
What, do you mine that shit?
No, I just bought at a local low, and it's been going to the moon with Bitcoin. So I made like $1,000 in the last 3 months.
Alright, that's pretty easy.
Nice.
It's been
That's mining rig.
I found very old mining units in the trash, and I've been tempted to find a pinout of the processing unit and try to buy a replacement processing unit from some Chinese back market and resolder it with a more advanced mining rig, but it's not realistic. You need like 1,000 mining machines to be even practical these days.
Yeah, exactly. The technology is advanced so much that the older machines are just going to be nowhere profitable at all.
I'm just going to fucking place where the electricity is subsidized.
Out of curiosity, I looked into what's the cost versus profit of renting 1,000 rigs, and it would basically take 6 years to make just one Bitcoin. If you rented one Bitcoin rig per month and added on one new rig every month thereafter, just slowly incrementally increasing the rigs you're renting, it would still cost 6 years.
You got to take into account the difficulty adjustment as well, so that's going to be an issue.
What about mining Doge? Let's take something that's simple. What about mining
It's
that?
merge mine. You can mine it with Litecoin because they both help secure each other's
Yeah,
networks.
how much does that take to break even?
Break even? Probably you're looking at a couple of years, break even.
I mean, what kind of compute do you have to use to make sense?
ASICs. You want to use an ASIC?
I know, but what's the cost of that compute? I know what compute to use. I don't know the
It costs like 4,000 a unit now, right?
Depends on which one you buy. Yeah.
Or just actually no, fuck that, fuck ASICs. We're gonna have to go with graphics cards. I think the reason why is because it will still be useful for AI, especially given the nature of there's still a bit of a stalemate with Taiwan at the moment, unless of course Donald Trump and his administration would restructure the military to operate, I think, more efficiently, put out ads that actually get people to want to go to war. And, the military strength will be increased, production would also have to be increased so that military strength for US is increased. So, so that's basically act as a counterweight so it can remain a stalemate for Taiwan, because basically all of the advanced compute that is coming out that's available to us comes out from fucking TSMC. So if you think about it, let's say we have two timelines, one which is optimal, like what I explained, or one is even more optimal, where the stalemate disappears entirely and you have an age of prosperity. That would be the more preferable one. That is the very optimistic, but then the more realistic would be the one where just the stalemate continues. And the other one that is also technically realistic, but I do not want to have occur, is a breakdown of the stalemate. And then of course, you have a breakdown in manufacture for that compute, because they literally have a fucking big red button that they can just push on, and that's a dead and the production, it's done. It's finished. No more TSMC chips, no more of your super advanced graphic cards, no more of your super advanced AI compute. That's a bit of a problem. So, in lieu of this, of course, think about it. I would rather say buy, when it comes to compute power, the graphic card, not the ASIC, because beyond mining crypto, the ASIC is fucking worthless. Just is. Maybe if you do some architectural changes, but that's suboptimal. It's fucking worthless, a piece of shit. You just throw it away. Or it'll become a heater. Like a fucking Walmart heater, realistically. So, it's like one thing that Bitcoin is really good at is trading heat. For instance. So if you want to mine other things, I would just say buy a graphic card, because the shit is going to be worth something after all. And it's actually interesting because, Ethereum used to be proof of work, and then it shifted to proof of stake. And once it shifted to proof of stake, all the GPUs that they used to mine it were available on the market. And to this day, there's a website out there where you can rent that out. And it's super fucking cheap. And people ask, where did all these things come from? Well, because, you know, when they shift to fucking Ethereum for proof of work, for the sake, well, the computer had to fucking go somewhere, no? That's where it went. Remember when there was a huge craze and everybody wanted to buy those fucking things? And then nobody fucking wanted them anymore. They all got swooped up somehow, so like, where did the GPUs go? That's where they went.
I bought myself a super cheap upgrade.
What happened?
Oh, I got myself a super cheap upgrade when that happened. I saw all those GPUs dumping, and I was like, "Sweet, let's see what's on sale." Sure enough.
See, I'm telling you, man.
They actually have something that's like a heater, but it's like a Bitcoin miner and a heater.
Yeah, ASICs are always gonna have that problem where they become useless. But graphic cards are always gonna be useful somehow, in some way. And let me tell you, I forget NVIDIA graphics card or GPU, like you have an NVIDIA GPU that's all manufactured in part by TSMC. That shit, if there is a breakdown at stalemate, a negative timeline I explained, is going to go so fucking up. It's going to put Bitcoin and stock market and everything to a shame. It's going to be nothing. It's going to pale in comparison to what that could be. People don't understand what a compute crisis looks like. It's like a fucking water crisis, and the world is a desert. People don't know what that means. They don't know what that means because no one's fucking talking about it. Everyone's talking about the fucking digital currency. Nobody gives a fuck about. But nobody talks about the actual compute. Nobody talks about what it actually means to have a compute crisis. Do you remember when there was a compute crisis, a small compute crisis from COVID? Remember that shit, right? Didn't that fucking give people a hint? I mean, the fact that doesn't give people a hint and they don't talk about the nature of this, and I'm basically the only fucking person on Spaces that's talking about it, makes me realize that people are legitimately their own worst enemies. They fucking talk about all this useless shit, stock prediction this, stock prediction that. I'm like, do you understand a little tiny vector point that your entire existence depends upon, your entire modern world depends upon, that can just vanish at the snap of your fingers the next morning? They don't consider that. That's about as bad as the internet disappeared. It's on the same level. It's a fucking massive event. If TSMC vanishes tomorrow, which it won't, I'm just saying, it will make even my computer skyrocket in value. That fucking thing that's standing here is gonna go up 10 times, 100 times. 10 times is more realistic in value. Because guess what? None of that shit is going to be made again. That's it. It's going to be like a fucking black market trade. Somebody comes up with the GPUs like, hey man, which year manufacturer was it? Oh yeah, here 2023. Oh, it's the TSMC one. Yo, give me bro. That's what it's going to be like. You think that's ridiculous? Fucking mark my words. I don't want that future to occur. Mind you, right? I'm just saying. If you want to be cynical, don't be cynical. Be a realist. Don't be a pessimist. Be a realist. You can be an optimist, which drives you forward and makes you strive for greater things. That's important. Be an optimist. But I like to also sometimes be a realist, so I can be a sustainable optimist. Because I still gotta fucking make money to be optimistic about the future, so the future is fucking there, so I can fucking make it. Nope. To be that, you have to be realistic about the goals that you have in mind. Of course, you know, the goals that you have in mind are somewhat optimistic in nature because that's the thing that you wish to achieve, which is optimistic at all because you think about the thing occurring in the first place. But realistically speaking, realism is what allows you to fund that journey to get to that goal. To a certain extent, but you have to be optimistic still to keep that goal in mind. And part of that is considering the little vector point for all your computer, your super fancy fucking devices. And it affects everyone. It's going to affect absolutely fucking everyone. Especially America. Given their extreme usage of iPhones in America, those motherfuckers will be affected most of all. Your gamers will be affected. Your fucking iPhone users are going to be affected. Your car companies, every fucking person on earth is going to be affected by this shit. And none some more than these people. You know why? Because that new iPhone that you bought, you buy every single year because it's a fucking cult. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying it's a basic fucking fact. Like, you don't have to upgrade your phone every single time and waste a lot of money on that hardware, which is like basically almost no improvement whatsoever. But fine, if you do you, that's fine. You have your money. You someone made it. That's your decision. I'm not going to fucking hold you for it. That's fucking stupid if I did. Hound you. That's better. I'm not going to hound you for it. But you know that chip in it? It's really good. That 3 nanometer chip. What is that again? 3 nanometer? Who's the only entity that's able to manufacture this again? Oh yeah, that's right. Fucking USD. So think about it. Majority, you have iPhones. Their shit is going to be terrible if there's no more TSMC. So it affects them directly. The fucking people with the Mac Minis, oh god, they're going to be some decks for sure. That shit's huge.
And all the AI chips are made by TSMC.
Exactly. People don't understand what this means. If there was a war in Taiwan, our shit is gonna skyrocket. My fucking computer going up 10x easy.
At least with like phones and computers and shit like that, like Samsung can make like a shittier version, right? That's like a year or two behind, right? But with the AI chips, they're completely fucked.
Yeah, there's like no excuses for bad performance there because the performance will be so shit that the thermodynamic implications become a thing that you have to worry about. Even then, even if you don't reach that level, the thermodynamic implications are going to be cost in terms of energy because you're going to consume a shit ton more. Because you're going to need more power, more compute. Because it's shit. And it crashes and it breaks. Because fucking Intel is dog shit. Sorry to say this. And I have no personal bias here. I'm not invested in either of this shit. I'm just saying it how it is. And perhaps even in the hopes of it improving. I'm not a ventriloquist, not a cultist. If the fucking iPhone had a better operating system than the fucking Android, bitch, I'm buying that. It doesn't though. Sucks more. Costs more for less. Not really my thing. I want something that's fast. I want something that works well, has a fucking super cool refresh rate and shit. Guess what I'm buying? I'm buying an ROG. That thing is dedicated towards that specific purpose. Has the fucking super thick as fuck battery in that thing that lasts ages. How many hours have I even had this space on? Like, that's how long I've been using this phone.
Yeah, 4 hours.
Like 3 hours basically I've been using this phone. From having it unplugged, sitting here, basically 3 hours. And my battery's not even half drained. It's like basically a little bit over half drained. It's like 45% now. And it's on performance mode. I can turn performance mode off and it's going to last even longer. This battery is a thick bitch. See, if I want to pay extra money for fucking hardware in my phone, I'm buying the thick bitch. I'm not buying a fucking iPhone.
Yeah, mine's at 32%, just for reference. It was 100% when we started. That was 4 hours ago.
I used to have an Android, and I think this might be another autistic thing where it's like, we understand the technical reasons to prefer the Android, but I switched because I realized the points that it costs you in the social game when you have the green text.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have that particular problem, but you having to interact with a lot of people socially, I believe, you definitely have that problem.
I mean, I date around.
I think the problem with the US in general is that it uses iMessage. I don't know why the fuck they do this. Anywhere else you go, this is not something people do. You go to Europe, they use WhatsApp. You go to South America, they use WhatsApp. You go to Japan, they use Line. You go to Russia, they use Telegram. You go to the US is like the only place on earth where people actually give a shit about iMessage. Like, this is the only place on earth where people are like, oh my god, blue text bubbles.
Yeah, the workaround that I had for that was I would just ask people if they use Signal, because Signal just has text for everybody. And yeah, it works. It's basically text.
I don't use iMessage with anyone unless I have to. Signal is my default choice.
It's better.
Indeed. I would even prefer WhatsApp over iMessage, to be honest. I don't know why the fuck.
It's fascinating. The fuck is this?
I will say Apple gets its UX right. Like, by and large, anything I want to do and figure out how to do with my iPhone, I do like that about it. I understand the other deficiencies it has, but it's so easy to use. And a lot of apps are optimized for it too.
I must.
Demon hours.
Yes. Just two posing next to a fucking tank. Yeah, boy. Let's go. What is it with dudes and wanting explosions? Guns are like basically fireworks for adults, like real adults. It seems. Because like when you go to a shooting range, I doubt that you have in mind the idea to cause harm to people. You just want to see whether or not you can hit a target. That's cool. I don't know, man. It's like a small cannon that's handheld. But like it shoots many, many times. It's a sport even. Like you gotta ask yourself, people judge that. And you get why. Different people. Let's do fox hunting. So you get a bunch of dogs, you get a bunch of people on horses with guns, and they brutalize an animal. Or you go to a shooting range. What do you think is better? I think we can clearly fucking come to a consensus here that brutalizing an animal obviously no good, so let's go to a fucking shooting range instead and see if we can hit fucking targets dead center with our little hand cannons. Okay, I think that's better, in my opinion. It's a sport. Like, do you think that the person with a fucking machine gun in his basement is gonna, like, that person's taking it to the shooting range to flex on his other dudes? They're not doing that to, like, outcompete each other on, like, the battlefield. They're doing it to outcompete each other on who's got the biggest gun. It's like a dick measuring contest, like a contest, but with, like, checks and the ability to cash those checks for guns and ammunition. Yeah.
Instead of the E-peen, it's the G-peen.
Yes. Realistically, that's what we all did at this point. Super high scores in video games. Yeah, we're flexing something at the end of the day. We're men. We are like peacocks. We like to show off. It's in our DNA. We do this for each other, and it's a team bonding exercise. We shit on each other to make each other better. It's a team bonding exercise. Troll each other. And at the end of the day, try the best we can to be as productive as possible. For all humans. For all mankind. That's what we really are. Funny how that comes from guns. That's our idea of fun.
I mean, the way I was taught, guns are a tool, and I mean, you can play around with a tool, and if you do that, you might hurt somebody else, you might hurt yourself. but ultimately it's about how you choose to use it, and people can use them for shitty purposes. By and large, they're very useful, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's better than a firework in that it actually is a tool, right? And like, I mean, it's like when you first get a chisel or get like an angle grinder, you do stuff with it. You're not fucking careful with it.